Hi, thanks for tuning in. This is the US Futures Weekly Chart Analysis for the week ending 11th of October 2024. The first chart is the US dollar index futures. This is the wider view, so you can see where we've been. Market's been trading roughly sideways for some time now. Moving in a bit closer. Now putting in some levels to look at. The market eventually found a low down here. It had to reach down to the last gasp levels to find support. Price pushed higher last week in response to some of the overseas tensions in the Middle East in particular. We expected the market to just drift higher this week into this range, which is what it did. Price has traded in here for most of the week. Volume reduced back to more normal levels. So in response, I would expect the market to move sideways here. It may move slightly lower, but roughly sideways within this zone here. I don't think the market is going to challenge the next level higher, which is up here. Not at this point in time, although there is a little bit of a vacuum in this level between the two levels. So if the market did attempt to move higher, it would find it more easy to push higher through this little section here and then find some increased resistance above the 104 level. But spread narrowed this week, volume reduced, so activity was reduced, and this has allowed many of the other associated markets just to breathe a little more freely this week after the pressure they were put under the previous week when this market accelerated higher. E-mini S&P, this is S&P 500 index futures. The market had been trading up near its highs previously. It broke out up here with a little gap in here. And you'll note that the last 3 weeks have seen reduced volumes below average volumes. There's not a lot of intent behind the recent moves. Prices floated higher, mostly on a lack of selling pressure. So price moved up, attempted to consolidate sideways. This week, it's tested for supply below the previous bar's closed and just popped up on relatively low volume. So it's floated higher on a lack of selling pressure rather than moving higher with any serious intent. Now, I'm not expecting this market to accelerate higher, but if it does continue higher, I expect more grinding action with overlapping bars, more like this, rather than any serious acceleration higher. Apart from that, the market may just move sideways in response, just waiting to see if any real weakness emerges. US Treasury 10-year note futures. You can see the market came back again this week, but with a reduced spread and a mid-bar close. Volume was slightly reduced and below the average, so the market's attempting to consolidate within the range of this strong up bar we've had in the background. Now, because volume is reduced, you wouldn't really say that strong buying support has emerged in this market this week, particularly as volume was below the average. Perhaps you could say that an equilibrium has been found between supply and demand in the near term. And if that continues and the US dollar continues to go sideways, you'll see this market perhaps trade sideways or maybe slightly higher as it gains some strength down here. Copper price futures. Copper price futures found a low down here. There was a reluctance to move lower down here. There was some buying support emerge. Price then broke out here, moved up. It's trading adjacent to this period of consolidation in the background. And the market's in consolidation at the moment. It accelerated higher on this bar, and now it's consolidating in response, like this. You'll note that this week's bar closed just above mid-bar on genuine volume, average volume, so that's genuine. It does look like this market has absorbed the supply being drawn out, and given any sort of favourable trading conditions next week, it'll probably push back up to the highs of the range. It may not attempt to break out at this point, but it may push up to the highs of the range and consolidate in here until the timing's right for a continued push higher. Gold price futures. Gold price futures have pushed up again here. Now, on this bar, you'll note volume increased, spread narrowed, the close was in the middle. There was some supply drawn out on this bar. In response, the market consolidated, but it was too strong to pull back like it would normally, and instead it's consolidated sideways and absorbed supply. Volume was reduced, which suggested that the market has indeed absorbed the supply being drawn out. This week, in response, the market produced a more orthodox test for supply below the previous bar's close, and then popped up to close near its highs for the week. It would appear that any supply drawn out up at this level has probably been absorbed now. So barring any weakness emerging in the market, which appears unlikely at this point in time, this market is now primed again for a little move higher. Whether that's an acceleration higher or a grinding push higher, we'll have to wait and see, and it may depend on other market factors. But this market looks well placed to make an attempt to push higher again in response. Silver price futures. Silver price futures have been flirting with the highs of the range up here more recently. There did appear to be some supply drawn out in the tops of both of these bars, and the markets came back and consolidated this week, testing for supply, consolidating, absorbing supply, and volume in response was reduced and slightly below the average. So it would appear that supply has eased this week, which is similar to the story we just saw in the gold chart. And this market also looks well placed to make an attempt to push higher in response, given any sort of favourable or even just neutral trading conditions next week. Like crude price futures, found a bottom down here, and you can see the market tested that bottom and then pushed higher. Now it's trading adjacent to this period of consolidation in the background. Some supply appears to be drawn out this week, with the market closing well off its high on reduced volume, but still above average volume. So I would expect, highly likely, you'll see a test for supply at least early next week. Maybe for the whole week, you'll just see consolidation sideways, sort of in here, like this. But you'll at least, I think, see some testing for supply in response early next week, and then you'll see the market respond to that test for supply, depending on how much supply is drawn out of the market. Euro US dollar currency futures. The market was trading sideways down here. It spent 2 weeks here absorbing supply and consolidating before accelerating higher and establishing new highs. Here were the lows of the range within this bar's range. The price broke down last week, and now the market's attempting to consolidate adjacent to this period of 2 weeks where the market absorbs supply. You drag this line across, you can see the market's just sitting within this range on top of the old breakout line. Now, spread narrowed this week. The close was in the middle and volume was low. So the market didn't really see buying support emerge. You saw an equilibrium between buyers and sellers and reduced activity in the market. So that doesn't suggest that any great support has emerged for this market. It just suggests that selling pressure eased, and in response there was not a great deal of demand. The market just saw low activity and has traded the inverse of the US dollar to a great deal. British pound currency futures are definitely trading stronger than the euro. Here was the old highs of the range. There was a period of absorption through here. Market attempted to break out, came back, tested the breakout for strength, and then accelerated higher. Spent a little period of time in here, absorbing supply and consolidating before pushing up to a new level. The market pulled back similar to the euro last week, but the euro broke below this bar's lows. This market continues to trade within this strong up bar's range. Spread did narrow this week and volume reduced. Once again, the volume was well below average, so activity was low and there wasn't a great deal of buying support emerge. You just saw selling pressure ease and the markets just sat there at a comfortable level with a balance between the buyers and the sellers. I don't expect any great acceleration higher. I do expect the market will trade the inverse of the US dollar to a great deal. You'll probably find the market trades sideways in response. Japanese yen currency futures also saw activity ease this week. Volume was quite low, well below the average. Spread narrowed. The thrust lower has eased, but that's mainly due to the low activity this week and not necessarily because buying support came in to support the market. Similar to the previous two charts, I expect this market will probably trade sideways in response and will find some support down here. If the market did break down, you've got some previous support through here and then again through here. So that'd be the levels that the market will probably come down to and test for strength should the market actually break down. Aussie dollar currency futures. You can see this big shakeout in the background, which worked very well. It was unusual at the time. The market established some highs up here, which were recently broken. Price pulled back last week with the strength in the US dollar. And although spread did narrow this week, similar to the previous currency charts, it was much wider in this market and closed lower, well below this bar's lows. I actually feel as though this market may attempt to establish a new trading range, sort of within this range here. So you've got some room below if required, but similar to the previous three currency charts, I think this market's most likely to move sideways in response, similar to what the US dollar is going to do, and probably move sideways and consolidate. That's what this market will do. We'll just follow this and see if this is a new trading range that becomes established. But it does look like that may be the case. We'll just have to wait and see how it develops. Bitcoin futures. Bitcoin futures traded in consolidation mode this week. If you're unsure what the lines are representing, up here is the previous all-time high. And this is the highs of that range. This is the secondary breakdown line. This is where the market attempted to consolidate initially before breaking down again. And that's why the market's had to absorb its way back into this level when price saw new demand in the market. There was a period of consolidation through here, acceleration higher. Another push up to the secondary breakdown line, where the market did consolidate for 1 week before accelerating higher again. This is the current highs of the range, and this was the initial lows, which were broken here. If you drag this line across, you can see that it caught this level here, and this is the new lows of the range. You've probably got the highs coming through here with a intermediate level just there. Supply was drawn out on this bar here, and in response, the market spent 2 weeks in consolidation, attempting to absorb the supply being drawn out. And you'll see that volume down here has reduced considerably and is below average. This week was the lower of the two. So as the market continues to consolidate, it seems that selling pressure or supply has eased. That should open the door for an attempt to push higher. However, we've been disappointed with this market a number of times more recently, and supply has been drawn out when the market's attempted to push above this level and up to this level. So we'll give it the benefit of the doubt and just see how it does respond. It is well placed to make an attempt to push higher. We'll see what the response is. You'll probably know early in the week, within the first couple of days, the market should make an attempt to push higher. We'll just see if that can be successful this time. Back to the US dollar index futures, just quickly to wrap up. Here's where the market did find some support. The next level higher came through here. And that's where the market traded this week, pretty much for the whole week. And it's most likely going to trade sideways in here in response next week. You'll get some testing for supply like this, or an unsupported up bar like this. But I expect it will trade roughly sideways for the most part, barring any increase in tensions around the world or some geopolitical event happening. The next higher level is up here, and I do expect increased resistance if the market attempts to push above the 104 level. And there's a little bit of a vacuum in here, in this level. So the market can easily move higher if required, because I don't expect there'll be a great deal of resistance just above. But I think the most likely outcome, at least early next week, will be for some testing for supply, moving sideways and consolidating this position just above the 102 level. Okay, thanks for your time. See you next week. See ya.